I'm a sheep.
All right, so guys, like we talked about a little bit in the warm-up. All right, we're going to talk about slope today and a little bit about slope-intercept form. Not a lot. Again, we're not going to ask you to graph using slope-intercept. We're just going to have you identify a few things using slope-intercept form.
Can we start? Oh, can Will do the introduction?
Whoa. I'm going to screw that all up. Bad.
Oh no. Wait,
all right, so, all right, guys, we already talked about this a little bit. People said rise over run. People said steepness. All right, all those things work. But I'm thinking of, when we talk about slope, we're talking about the big thing is here, rate of change. That rate of change can be positive, that rate of change can be negative. And like somebody mentioned, I think, was it you, Xander, that said steepness? All right, it measured the steepness of the line, right? And that slope can change, all right? So it's going to be the rate of change between 2 points. But like I said, it could be positive, it could be negative. It could be 0, or it could be nothing at all. And we're going to look at the different pictures of slope or graphs of slope to see how we figure out which one is which. Because we have four options. We'll look at slope. All right, so slope is rate of change to any 2 points. All right, and we're going to talk about a couple of different ways that we're going to do it. We'll do it based on a graph. We're also going to do it based on a chart. Kind of when we look back and we talked about like functions. We did functions based on a graph. We did functions based on a chart. We did functions based on equations. Same type of thing when we're talking about slope. We're going to do the same kind of stuff. All right? So slope, big thing, rate of change. If you guys have fill in the blanks for this or no? All right, so don't worry about that. So if the line goes up and to the right, it's going to be a positive slope. If it goes down to the right, like this, it's going to be negative. So you don't really have to worry about writing this right now. I'm going to show you some pictures in a little bit, guys, that'll probably look a little bit better to understand as opposed to just words. Next. All right, what's up, buddy? Oh, you do? Oh, okay. So, guys, on the bottom, above those 4 graphs that are on there are some blanks to fill in. So if a line you want to write in slants up and to the right, this is a positive slope. If a line slants down and to the right, it is a negative slope. We're writing it right above the 4. See the 2 bullets describe the slope of a line? And there's 2 bullets right there, right down the bottom of the page. The things I underline is how high you fill in those blanks. Don't worry about keep in mind here. We'll talk about that in a second. All right? So describe the slope of a line. The first blank you write slants up. Second blank you're going to write right. And the last blank you're going to write positive slope. So everything that's underlined there you want to fill in your blanks with. So if it goes up to the right, it's going to be positive. If it goes down to the right, it's going to be negative. Because if it goes up to the right, it's going to the positive numbers. If it goes down to the right, it's going to the negative numbers. All right, people okay with this?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm not sure. All right. So, not quite sure. Okay. Hold on, guys. Usual time. All right. Don't worry about that. Keep in mind yet, guys. Let's go. Let's talk about on the bottom there, guys. Those 4 graphs. All right, that we have on the bottom. It doesn't have to be exact, guys. You don't have to put any of this O or any of that stuff like that. Just draw a line that goes up to the right, and then right above it, you're gonna write positive slope. Then you'll draw the graph, we put the line on the graph, then right below it, the line rises from left to right. So you do the same thing going across. If it goes up to the right, it's positive. If it goes down to the right, it's negative. We'll just worry about those right now. So above it, you're going to write negative, then you'll draw a line, then you'll write the description below it. What's up, Will? Oh, yeah. That's what I want. And you fill in for your negative slope. A horizontal line going across, that's going to be a slope of 0. Another way you can think of it, guys, is you can make this a little hint. You can make it a Z. You have the top of the Z, you can draw a line going across, and then finish it off. That's just a little hint to know that if it asks for the slope, if you can make it a Z, Z for 0, that's going to be a hint that your slope is 0. So if the line is horizontal, it's going to be a slope of 0, or the slope equals 0. Undefined slope is when the line goes vertical, when it goes up and down. Another hint, we can make a slope of 0 with Z. If I drew a line going across here, and a line going up, I can make it the letter U. U for undefined. So it's just a hint. It's like, I still have a hard time remembering, is a horizontal line, is that undefined or is that 0? Now remember, okay, if I can make it a Z, I know the slope is 0. I can make this a U, so I know that slope is going to be undefined. Alright? Remember, slope of 0 is going to be horizontal, and then if it's going to be vertical, that means it's undefined. And you just write, if we ask you that, you just write the slope is undefined. If you want to write this in, you don't have to if you have some space on there, guys. We're going to give you a graph, and we'll ask you to find the slope. And we'll give you 2 points on that graph. Now, to find the slope, if it's a positive slope, so we're going to ask you to do 2 things. We're going to ask you to describe the slope of the line, so it'll be one of these 4 things. Then we're going to ask you to find the actual number. If I was going to do it for this one, I'd count up to the right. I'd take 1 point, I'd go up, however many lines it takes to get on the line where the other coordinate is, then I count to the right. And I would put that would be my slope. Now, when we have slope, you always want to try to simplify. Same thing here. If I'm trying to find slope of a negative, I'm going to count down first until I get to the line that the other coordinate's on, then I'll count to the right. That's how you want to do it. Alright? Good with that? Everybody has those drawn in? Let me go back. Sorry, for some reason I'm not seeing.
Yeah, these 2 big boxes. Right?
Yeah, I know where that is.
You have down lower, then you scroll it down.
Here we go. Okay, good. Found it. Alright, so it says keep in mind, guys. Alright, remember, if you're moving right, we talked about this a little bit yesterday with the intercepts, X and Y intercepts. If we're moving right, that means these are all dealing with the X coordinate. These are dealing with the Y. Right and left for X, right? Up and down for Y. Right? So if you're moving right, it's positive. If you're moving left, it's negative. That's going to be your rise, right? Right or left is going to be your rise. Then for your Y, if you're going up, that means it's positive. If you're going down, that means it's negative. Like I said, it helps to identify first the type of slope, or describe the slope. So positive, negative, 0, undefined. Once you do that, it's going to make it a little bit easier how you want to count on your graph. All right? And remember, guys, it's always rise over run. X's are always going to go on top, Y's are always going to go on the bottom. That's what we're trying to figure out when we're counting. All right? Everybody has this?
There's like
Hold on.
There's like a little thing on the left side. What does that keep in mind?
Yeah, you can just put rise over run. And that's all it wants. If you put something else there, that's okay too. Thanks, man.
I got it.
No, Nancy, please go along.
Alright, guys, for that bottom one, to find the slope of a line, so the two bullets, the first bullet you can put for the first bullet you can just put look at a graph. So for the first bullet in that bottom box, you can just put look at the graph. Actually, I want you to put look at the graph and count. Alright? So look at the graph and count. That's one way that you can figure out slope.
Hey, what's the one?
That's what this is.
Or, that's what I'm saying, in that bottom box with the two bullets, the first bullet you gotta write in look at graph and count. That's one way you can find slope. Just look at it and count.
Where's that?
Then you can put, for the second bullet,
Wait, what's the first bullet? Oh,
You're paying attention.
or you can use coordinates, right? If I was going to label my coordinates, the first one I get is my x1, then I have my y1, my other set of my 2's, my x2 and my y2, right? Then on the bottom of that second box, with 2 bullets, I want you to write this. Don't worry about rise over run, just write this. That's the formula you want to use. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You cannot put the x's on the top and the y's on the bottom. I don't care if you do y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. That's fine. But you can't do y1 minus y2 over x2 minus x1. It's not consistent. Whatever set of coordinates you're saying is your first set of coordinates, you better make sure that that first x is on the bottom, not the second x.
So are those 1s and 2s exponents?
No.
No. What are they?
They're, what's it called?
Just a number that's lower. It's called a subscript, but I just want you guys to know it's not an exponent.
What is it? Oh, what is using those to identify what is the first one, what's the second one? You would really use this formula, guys, if we gave you something like, okay, we said 3, 1, and -5, 7. And we said find the slope of those 2 points. Because there's no picture now, you can't just count. We're giving you 2 sets of coordinates, and you have to find the slope. But the stuff we do today, we're not really going to give you anything like that, where you have to use this formula. You'll see the coordinates on the graph, but again, you don't have to plug them into that formula. You can just count. Joe?
wait, what are those things called again that are, it's a,
Subscripts.
Subscript.
subscript?
Yeah, you can put that if you want. All right. So there's 2 ways. You can either count or you can plug them into the formula. You can label them and plug them into the formula. Either way will work. But for what we're doing today, guys, we can just count. All right. So let's look at example number 1. So what I want to do here, guys, is I want to first identify or describe the slope. What I mean by describe the slope is identify positive, negative, 0, or undefined. Those ones that we put on the bottom of your notes, that's what we're asking you to do here. We're asking you to identify the type of slope, and then, or describe the slope, and then figure out what it is. So for example 1, someone tell me about raising their hand. Describe the slope of that line. Gemini? Positive, right? It's going up to the right. So it's going to be positive. Now I have to actually have to find what the slope is. So it's positive. It's giving me, there's one coordinate, there's the other coordinate. When we took those notes on the bottom of the page to describe the slope, like what it is, if you got a positive slope, how did I say to count? What direction?
Left, right, left.
No.
Right.
When I said to count, where should I go? Should I go down and to the left if it's a positive slope? What direction should I go? Up and to the right. If it's a positive slope, you know it's positive, count up to the right to figure out what your slope is. So I'm going to go up, every line I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I stop at the line where the other coordinate is. I stopped at this line because that's where the other coordinate is. So I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be my top number because it's rise over run. Hold on a second. You want to make that one red? I'll let you. Good. All right, so I went up 5. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to write the number 5. All right? Now, I'm going to count to the right however many lines it takes me to get to whatever the other coordinate is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got a 5. I'm going to put it over 5. Now, when I get a slope, what I always say I have to make sure I want to do with the slope. But I always want to double check to see. Do you know, Madison? If I can reduce it, right? Madison, do you know what that will reduce to? 1, right? This means 5 divided by 5. It reduces to 1. Or I know that 5 goes into both numbers. Divided by 5, divided by 5. Alright? But in this situation, these numbers go into each other. I can just divide them into each other, and I get 1. And if I look at my line, I go up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And I stay right on that line. Alright? This one. What's the slope of that line?
0.
0, right? So, that covers both things. Describing the slope of the line, it's 0. And the slope is 0. So when I have something like this, when it's horizontal, going across, I just have to put the number 0. That's it. No more, I don't do any more than that. Because it covers both things. The slope is 0, and the description of the slope is 0. That's all it is. Right? There's no counting going on there. If I took these two coordinates and plugged them in, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, it will come out to 0. But I'm not going to do that. Alright? Next, 2a. Look at on the bottom of the page, look at your descriptions. Alright? What do you think, Savannah?
Which one?
For this one right here. Example 2a.
It's negative.
Negative. Alright, I agree. So on your thing where it's on your notes where it says slope description, you'll write negative. Now, it's negative, right? So how do I count? Remember, when it was positive, I counted from that coordinate up to the right. I'm going to go down, then where?
Left.
I'm going to go down, not left. If I went down and left, what do you mean? Always down. When I'm doing slope, guys, if I go down, I'm always going down to the right. I'm never going to go down to the left. So Jenny, when I count down, how do I know when to stop? Yeah, when I get to, I'm not going like this. I got to stay on these lines. How do I know when to stop? Do I keep going? Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Why?
Because that's where the point is.
Yeah, that's where the other point is, right? So I'm going to count down how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. I went down 4. I'm going to make sure that I put a negative sign with my slope, with my number for slope. There's my negative. Now I'm drawing my little fraction line. I went down, how many? 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 4. And I went to the right, how many? 1, 2, 3. Negative 4 over 3. What am I going to double check to see if I can do? Joe? Can I reduce that? No. There's not. Again, if this was 2, yes, they go in evenly. The number would be 2. But it's a 3. If this is a 4, same thing. I can reduce it. If it was like 3 over 6, 3 goes into both. It would be, actually should be 1/2. That's what I'm talking about when I'm doing that. But this, there's nothing I can do. So the description, describe the slope, it's negative. Find the slope, it's negative 4/3. So on your notes there, your slope description is negative. Your slope is negative 4/3. All right. Now we've done a positive. We've done a negative. We've done a 0. What's missing?
Undefined.
Undefined, right? So when Mr. Hager scrolls down, what's the line going to look like?
Straight.
Horizontal or vertical?
Horizontal.
Vertical, up and down, right? Right? Again, now this one, it's going to be undefined. Mr. Hager, you still want us to? You still want us to find? The slope is undefined, right? There's going to be no number there, correct? Yeah, same as a 0, right? 0 and undefined, there'll be no number. Well, for slope, you know the slope is 0. For undefined, there'll be no number because there's really no slope defined. It's just undefined. So we covered all four of the different slopes we can have. Huh? Yeah. First, where it says slope equals, don't put anything because there is no slope. Right? Feeling okay with those guys? Not too bad. We gave you guys one of each. All right?
I think I heard somebody ask, can you put nothing?
Yeah.
Put undefined.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Where it says slope equals, Mr. Hager, put undefined as well.
Yeah, slope is undefined.
Okay. So slope description is undefined, and then slope equals undefined.
I'm trading you.
Huh? You, that's okay too. All right? Good. All right with this. All right. Now. Oh, everybody's okay with that last time? Okay. If you're given a table of points and asked to find the slope, pick any points, plug them into that formula. So we talked about this formula earlier. Now we're not giving you a picture, we're giving you a chart. So there's nothing to count now. So you have to plug it into this formula. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. You're gonna have a whole bunch of coordinates on your chart. You only have to pick 2. Alright? So let's look at it. Alright? So again, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, on your notes, guys, you just have a blank little table.
Dude, it's 420.
Thank you, Noah. 4 and 20, 7 and 14, 10 and 8, 13 and 2. You guys have to write them in on your on the chart on your notes. You don't have them written there. Now, somebody give me a page. Give me a coordinate you want to use.
714.
7 and 14. What do you want to use, Noah? I got a pretty good idea.
No.
Okay.
13 2.
13 to all right. So now, here's my formula. Guys, what I always do, right, I asked page first. So let's say these are my first coordinates. What would I label 7 as? What would I label 7 as? x1, y1, x2, y2. What's it going to be, Paige?
X1.
x1. So that means 14 is going to be what, Paige?
X2.
No.
Wait.
Y1.
y1. All right. Connor. So this is my x1. What's 13 going to be?
x2.
x2. Very good. That means 2 is going to be. If 14 is y1, what's 2 going to be?
x3.
No. If 14 is y1, what's 2 going to be?
y2.
y2. All right. So we got them all labeled now, right? What I always do is I draw my line and I put my 2 negative signs or my 2 minus signs. That way, because I understand if you have the y1 coordinate, if it's negative, it doesn't just take the place of that negative sign. Same thing with the x1. It doesn't just take the place of that negative sign. The negative sign, the subtraction sign, is a part of the formula. It has to be there. All right, so you sometimes may get two negatives in a row. We've talked about that. So y2 is going to be what number? Someone tell me what my y2 is. What do we label it as, Joe?
2.
2. Minus y1. What's y1, Nathan?
Yeah, y1 is 20. No, 14.
14. 2 minus 14. How about x2, Noah? What's x2 going to be?
Hold on. Oh, X2?
Yeah?
Where is it?
Or the second
It's
x.
13.
13, good. How about x1,
I
Noah?
couldn't see the board.
How about x1?
7.
7. Good. Now, this is stuff like we did yesterday at the beginning of class, right? And subtracting positives and negatives, all right? 2 minus 14. Remember, 14's bigger.
Negative 16.
Nope. I like the negative, but not negative 16. Savannah? Negative 12. Perfect. Negative 12. How about 13 minus 7? 6. I agree. Now, just like before, we have to double check to see. Can I simplify that?
Yes.
What's it going to be?
2.
Careful.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Nice job. If Joe, you just messing around, Joe?
No,
Okay.
at first I thought it actually would be, and then I noticed
If the 6 was on top, if the 6 was on top, Joe, if the 6 was on top, 12 was on the bottom, yes, but it's not. So this would be negative 2, all right? Because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. All right, so all we're doing is just a different way. Now we're just using the formula and plugging in numbers, all right? Let's look at 3b, all right? Z, give me a coordinate you want to use. Give me a coordinate you want to use and tell me what you want to label it.
3, 2.
3, 2, okay. 3, 2, all right. So I'm going to circle that. 3 will be what? X1. 2 will be? Y1. Very good. Fred, give me another coordinate you want to use.
5, 2.
5, 2.
There you go, buddy.
Fred, what's 5 going to be? What's 5 going to be? X2, very good. That means, what's 2 going to be, Fred? Y2. Somebody remind me again, what's the formula?
Oh, I know how you do it.
Sydney?
Y2 minus Y.
Y2, you don't have to write it down every time, I just want to remind you guys. X2 minus X1. What did I say to do so you don't make a mistake? Anybody remember from the last one? Draw your line and put your 2 minus signs, because the minus signs are part of the formula. All right, what's the first sum I'm going to write on the top? Joe?
2.
2. Very good. What's going to go here? Madison, what's going to go here? Y1.
2.
Excellent. Bottom. Gemini, what's going to go here? It's going to go right here. 5, very good. And what's going to, Gemini, what's going to go here? Y1 is 2. X1. Yeah, X1 is 3. Alright, so 2 minus 2? 0.
So it's just a 0.
Over 5 minus 3? 2.
It's just 0.
What's that going to simplify to? Noah just said it. 0 divided by 2?
0.
0. So the slope of that is 0.
Guys, what kind of line is that?
What's it going to look like?
Horizontal.
Horizontal. Good job.
I almost just said vertical.
Alright. Do you guys think we need to do C?
No.
You guys understand, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe maybe not B, because
Everyone's okay? Let me tell you one thing. I'm going to keep going.
What's the y-intercept?
Alright. So, again, now, let's talk about on the back. You got a little spot there that says slope-intercept form. We've talked about this a bunch of times already this year. This haven't used it specifically. Gemini just said it. Y equals mx plus b. So guys, on the bottom left-hand corner of your notes, it says slope-intercept form. You guys know it. Y equals mx plus b. Now, you need to make sure that when you write this formula, right, there's some arrows coming out. Because certain letters in that formula mean certain things. Go ahead, Mallory.
Well, I know M will equal
M will stay.
will equal y-intercept.
Exactly, you're perfect. So make sure when you write your formula on here, make sure that M is on the M. Make sure where the arrow is for slope. Make sure the M is above that. Make sure where the arrow is for y-intercept that the B is above that. Okay? There's your formula. So basically, what it means is any number, the number with x attached is always the slope. The number with x attached is always the slope. Now, like we said, this is called slope-intercept form. Now, here's the thing. You have to be careful. We're not always going to give it to you with y by itself. It's not always going to happen. If I gave you something like this, y equals 2x plus 3. That's fine. Y is by itself, equal sign, number with x, and then just a number at the end. That is in slope-intercept form. How about this? Y plus 3 equals 7x. Is that in slope-intercept form?
No.
Savannah, you say no. Why? What's in the wrong place?
The x.
No, the x. Up here the x is after the equal sign. Here the x is after the equal sign. That's okay. The 3, right? What do I have to do? Do you know?
You have to subtract 3.
I'm going to subtract 3. Where's that 3 going to go?
So,
Before the 7, or the negative 3 I should say. Is the negative 3 going to go before the 7x or after the 7x? So what's my new equation going to be?
y equals 7x. Minus 3.
Good. Now that is in slope-intercept form. All right, Joe?
Are we putting this somewhere?
You don't have to write that down. I'm just showing you that. We're going to do an example that's not in slope-intercept form.
Okay.
All right? Now, again, we don't have to put this anywhere. Let's look at this. Y equals 2x plus 3. In that equation, Jack, in this equation right here, based on the information we have over here, what's your slope?
It's going to be y equals 2x plus 3.
That's the equation, right? I want to know what the slope is. Not careful. When we ask you guys for the slope, do not put x. All right? What did I just say, Xander? Don't put the x, right? Good. When we're asking you what the slope is, the x is just kind of a hint to say, yep, the number right next to me, that's going to be the slope. You do not write the x, you'll be wrong. X is not part of the slope. X is just telling you that the number next to it is going to be the slope. So in this case, all right, slope, and I have to write this down, let's go over it. Slope equals 2. We also need y-intercept. And this equation right here, what's my y-intercept going to be? Someone tell me by raising their hand. What's my y-intercept going to be? Madison?
3.
3. It's the number that has nothing attached. There's no y with it, there's no x with it, it's just the number. Or it's always the last thing in the equation. That's always going to be your y-intercept. Alright? So when we go to that next page, guys, it's going to be the same exact thing that we just did. It's going to ask us, find the slope and y-intercept of the graph in each linear equation. So on your notes, it says slope equals and y-intercept equals. All right. Sorry, second. So on this one, right? And you have to write this down on your notes. So we just talked for letter A. Someone tell me by raising their hand. That was before you even get to that point.
Where are we writing this?
Right down the bottom right hand corner. See the ABC?
Oh, that was for that?
Yeah. Alright, so
I did.
for this one, first we have to ask ourselves, is it in slope-intercept form?
Yes.
I thought A, B, and
You
C.
say no, Joe?
But yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Okay, it is.
It is in slope-intercept form, right? The y's by itself on one side, on the left-hand side, the equal sign. I have the number with x. Then I have this number at the end. So I am in slope-intercept form. Ginny, can you tell me what the slope is in that equation on the line? If you're not sure, look back at your formula to to remind you.
Okay. Go sleep.
Is it 3?
Yeah, 3, right? Remember, the x is the hint to say yes. This number here is the slope. So the slope is always the number. Make sure it's in slope-intercept form first. If it's in slope-intercept form, the number with x is always going to be the slope. So in this case, the number with x is 3. You don't need to write the x. The x is not part of the slope. The x is just a hint to tell you that it's the slope. All right. So now, y-intercept. Someone tell me by raising their hand. X? No. -4, right? Remember, the sign to the left goes with the number. So the slope in this problem, the y-intercept is -4.
Oh, sweet, I thought that.
Damn.
That was because I thought the slope was y.
Nope.
And then.
When you slope intercept form, y-intercept be by itself. All right? Did you copy it down, Ron? All right. Let's go back to the next page. Good. So now this one. Fred, in this problem, what's my slope?
I'm not sure.
Ginny, what did I just tell you? What's the hint? What tells you what the slope is? What's going to be with it? Huh? What variable? X. Ginny just said that whatever number x is attached to is the slope. So now I think you can do it. -2, right? So this one, the slope is -2. Now, here's the tricky part. What about the y-intercept?
It is.
It's 1. I don't see a 1 in that problem. What do you think, Sydney? 0, right? There's no other number written there. If there's nothing, we could put, like Mr. Hager was going to do, +0. We don't have to though. If there's just an x there, the slope, y-intercept is going to be 0. Works both ways. What if I have this? Y equals 3. In this, you don't have to write this. In this equation, what is 3 going to be? Is that the slope or is that the y-intercept? Y-intercept. Why wouldn't it be the slope?
Because it doesn't have the
There's no x attached to it, right? So this works the same way. So for this one, you don't have to write this down. I'm just showing you guys. Slope. There's no slope, right? It's a 0. And then y-intercept would equal 3. And we graphed those that's like a special case that we graphed yesterday. What would that line look like? How would I graph y? We did this in the warm-up. What would y equal 3 look like on a graph? Yeah, it'd be horizontal, right, going across. And remember, a slope of 0, like we talked about when we drew them out, is horizontal. All right? Ms. Hager just wrote it out. All right, last one. Now.
Only 10 minutes left. Let's go.
Okay, so this one. Is it in, look at the board, is it in slope-intercept form? No. Okay. Someone tell me by raising their hand. What is in the wrong spot? Page?
3.
Is it a -3 or a +3? So what do I have to do to move it?
Add 3.
Add 3. Now, Paige, where is that 3 going to go?
After the 1/3 x.
After the 1/3 x. So what am I going to write, Paige? What am I going to write?
Y equals -3. Wait. You're doing it.
Take your time, she's fine.
Y equals 1/3 x plus 3.
So for this one, guys, we had to take an extra step. Well, have you written anything down today?
I wasn't here.
I know, but you got back in time. You could have copied some stuff down.
I copied
Nice.
some stuff.
Oh, you did write some stuff down? Okay. I just looked back there. I haven't seen you write anything down. It made me nervous. Alright, so y was 1/3 x plus 3. Now we need slope, and we need y-intercept. Alright? So, we just had to take one extra step here. We had to get y by itself. All right, we had to get it in slope-intercept form. Gemini, what are you going to tell me? Slope or y-intercept? Okay, which is? How do you know? Has the x with it, right? So slope 1/3 x. It's a fraction. Don't get scared if the slope is a fraction. Why is it okay if the slope is a fraction? What is slope? Rise over run, right? If I was gonna graph this, I would go up 1, right 3. Now, how about Z? What's my y-intercept? 3. Yeah?
Wow.
On this right, 3. That's it. So, what did we do today? We did graphing. We did figure out the slope based on a picture. That's when you just have to count. We did slope based on a chart, when you have to use the formula, and we figured out what slope and y-intercept are based on the equation of a line. So, here's the deal. Alright? Tonight's homework. 3.5. Okay, we did part 1 of 3.5 today. We'll do part 2 tomorrow. Pay attention. Stop talking. The only person that can be talking right now is X. He's going over that with Will. So, tonight's I think it's like 6, maybe 8 questions. Remember, progress reports close this Friday. Thursday's test will be on this progress report. Tomorrow, guys, last day of new stuff.
Thank God.
Why is tomorrow the last day of new stuff?
Because Friday's a half day.
Friday's a half day, so that means what? Testing on Thursday, right? Tomorrow night, reference sheet will be on Google Classroom. Test is on Thursday. We only have you guys 4 times this week because no class on Friday.